Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita chapter 11 of text 53 translation. The form which you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by understanding the serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. Krishna first appeared before his parents Devaki and Vasudeva in four-handed form, and then he transformed himself into the two-handed form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of a devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of a speculation or out of mere academic interest, Krishna is not easy to understand, nor is he understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained in Krishna himself in the next verse. Text 54 translation. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse, so unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad-Gita by the speculative processes will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents into the four-handed form and at once changed himself into the two-handed form. It is clearly stated here that no one can see him. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one or all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that the charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna's philosophy or Krishna Consciousness throughout the world. Krishna Consciousness is benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because of love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples in India, there are always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is very essential, and this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, it is possible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specially used here to indicate that no other processes can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form is Narayana and the two-handed form is Krishna. They are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The very word Sudarsham, meaning difficult to see, suggests that no one saw that universal form. It also suggests that among the devotees there were no necessity of showing it. The form was exhibited by the Krishna at the request of Arjuna, because in the future, when one represents himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form to Narayana and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed form and the other forms mentioned in the Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, not to speak of impersonal conception. As far as the 400 forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical 400 form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying in the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also as an expansion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one should consequently worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternity, bliss and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu, he is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead as confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, his name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There it is said that Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of God himself. Krishnetu Bhagavan Swayam. Similarly, in Bhagavad-Gita, Lord says, Mat Parataram Nanya, there is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad-Gita, Aham Adir Hi Devanam, I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad-Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following word, Param Brahma Parandama Pavitram Paramam Bhavam. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form, the universal form, with 2 hands, with its 2,000 and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw attention to those who have no love for God, and it is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with Lord in a different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who is a constant companion of Krishna, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may be seen wonderful to persons who are involved in the elevation of themselves by fruitive activities, but to persons who are engaged in the devotional service, this 200 form Krishna is the most dear. Text 55 translation. My dear Arjuna, one who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. Anyone who wants to approach the Supreme of all the personalities of Godhead on the Krishna Loka planet in the spiritual and be intimately connected with the Supreme Personality Krishna must take this formula as it is stated in Supreme himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad-Gita. The Bhagavad-Gita is a book directed to the conditioned souls who are engaged in the material world with the purpose of lording it over nature and who do not know of the real spiritual life. The Bhagavad-Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with Supreme Spiritual Personality, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now here in this verse, which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in the spiritual activity. Devotional service, as far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna Consciousness activities. No work should be done by a man expecting a relationship to Krishna. This is called Krishna Karma. One may be engaged in various activities, but one should not be attached to the results of the work, but the results should be done for him. For example, one may be engaged in business, but to transform that activity into Krishna consciousness, one has to do the business for Krishna. If Krishna is the proprietor of the business, then Krishna should enjoy the profit of the business. If a businessman is in possession of thousands and thousands of dollars, and if he has to offer all this to Krishna, he can do it. This is work for Krishna. Instead of constructing a big building for his son's gratification, he can construct a nice temple for Krishna, and he can install the deity of Krishna and arrange for the deity's service. As is outlined in the authorized book of devotional service, this is all Krishna Karma. One should not be attached to the result of his work, but the result should be offered to Krishna. One should also accept that prasadam, food and remnants of offerings to Krishna. If, however, one is able to construct a temple for Krishna, one can engage himself in cleansing the temple of Krishna, and that is also Krishna karma. One can cultivate a garden. Anyone who has a land in India, at least, and the poor man has a certain amount of land, can utilize that for Krishna by growing the flowers to offer him. You can sow tulasi plants because tulasi leaves are very important, and Krishna has recommended this in Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna desires that one offer him either a leaf or a flower or a little water, and he is satisfied. This leaf especially refers to a tulasi. So one can sow a tulasi leaves and pour water on the plant. Thus even the poorest man can engage into this service of Krishna. These are some of the examples of how one can engage in working for Krishna. The word mat parama refers to one who considers the association of Krishna in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. Such a person does not wish to be elevated to higher planets such as moon or sun or heavenly planets, or even the highest planet of the universe, Brahmaloka. He has no attraction for that. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky, and even in the spiritual sky he is not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahma Jyoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishna Loka, Goloka, Vrindavana. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he is not interested in any other. As indicated in the word Mad Bhakta, he fully engages in devotional service, especially in the 9 process of devotional engagement: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, carrying out the orders of the Lord, making friend with him, and surrendering everything to him. One can engage in all 9 devotional processes, or 8 or 7, or at least in one, and that will surely make one perfect. The term Sangha Varjita is very significant. One should disassociate himself with the persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheist persons against Krishna, but also who are attracted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. Therefore, the pure form of devotional service is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami clearly states that if anyone wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed from all kind of material contamination. He must be freed from the association of the persons who are addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. When freed from such unwanted association and from the contamination of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna. That is called pure devotional service. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Kamsa was an enemy of Krishna from the very beginning of Krishna's birth. He planned in so many ways to kill him, and because he was always unsuccessful, he was always thinking of Krishna. Thus, while working, while eating, and while sleeping, he was always Krishna conscious in every aspect. But that Krishna consciousness was not favorable, and therefore, in spite of all this, always thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day, he was considered a demon, and Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who is killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that is not the aim of the pure devotee. The pure devotee does not even want salvation. He does not want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Goloka Vrindavana. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone, therefore it is stated here that he has no enemy. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all the problems of life. He has a personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history, devotees of Lord risking their lives for the spreading of the God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. Similarly, in India, also there are many examples such as Thakur Haridasa, Vaisachrik, because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to the forgetfulness of the eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such person must reach to the supreme planet after leaving the body. In summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is temporary manifestation, and the form of a time which deviates everything, and even the form of Vishnu, 400, have been exhibited by Krishna. The Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Vishwarupa or Vishnu. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for the devotee, no one of Krishna is important but the original form. 200 Samasundara in the Bhagavad Brahma Samhita, it is stated that those who are attached to the Samasundara form, Krishna in love and devotion, can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. One should understand therefore that the purport of the 11th chapter is that the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita in the matter of universal form. Hare Krishna, keep listening for chapter 11 of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. Thank you so much.